Hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I am your host, John Harris, and today on Rock Metal Podcast, we have the MAGUAS. They have a new single called Shapeless, which released in September. Right now, I'm being joined by Brandon and Matt to share some more information, not only about this single, but their last single and a single coming up. So that's like, Shapeless is like the Oreo cream. And then we've got a couple other singles on the other side to give us a complete cookie. And to share more about that cookie, we've got Brandon and Matt here from the MAGUAS. So, boys, welcome to the show.
John, thanks so much for having us, man.
Yes, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely great to have you on. And in the pre-roll, we were discussing that today is the first day that the Rock Metal Podcast is live on Twitch. So it's happening right now, twitch.tv/the Rock Metal Podcast. And then for everybody else who's watching, say YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, this is an edited episode. And then if you want to check us out on Twitch so you can catch it live, then please do. Twitch.tv/the Rock Metal Podcast. Now, something else that's Shapeless is the song Shapeless. Shapeless Drifter. Release me, you shapeless drifter. So take us through this single. Anything you want to say? What's the story behind the track?
Yeah, I think let Jake start off with music. We can start with that. Tell how it all kind of came to be.
For which one? Shapeless?
Shapeless.
Oh, Shapeless, yeah. So I do a lot of the music. We're actually sitting in my backroom home studio, and I do a lot of recording back here, local bands and stuff out of the Scranton area. But Shapeless, I just wanted to write a really hard-hitting rock banger. Just really fast-moving, a lot of heavier guitar riffs, and something that I could just rock out and have fun on stage live. And I think I wrote it about a year ago, maybe even more, year and a half ago.
Definitely.
And then I sent the demo to the band, and everybody immediately was like, "Oh, that one! You got to do that one on the next EP."
Yeah, and we took it to Nick Brzezzi from Man Overboard at the Gradwell Studios in New Jersey. And I remember the first day he sits us down for pre-pro, and he goes, "All right, here's the songs I think we should do." He's naming them off. At the time, Shapeless was actually called Grungy. That was the name of the demo.
Grungy demo.
We called it Grungy Demo. That was like what we called it. And when we were recording it, Nick goes, "Okay, what song do you want to record first? What song do you want to record last?" And I said, "Definitely Grungy last." And he's like, "Why?" I go, "Honestly, if you heard the demo, I know you guys haven't heard the demo. The drums were ridiculous, and now you hear the final version. The drums are still ridiculous, yeah, Nick really took that song with us and really elevated it. And of course, for this one, for Shapeless, Eric, our singer, actually wrote the lyrics for the song, and they're very personal to him, and he did a great job with that melody. I remember the "Stab Me in the Heart," that part, the chorus there. When he first showed it to us, I think we didn't even have the whole melody finished by the time we got to the studio, but everybody in the band said we needed to hear this melody. We need to hear this chorus over and over again. It's just like "Stab me." Oh, perfect. Just beautiful. Yeah. So that's how it all came to be.
Initially, the song had a 16-bar demo. Or
solo.
A solo, yeah. And in the demo, and Nick was like, "Oh, no, that's got to go." So I'm kind of angry about that. I thought it was my time. I was going to be able to shred for like a minute and a half on stage, and I didn't get that this time around.
Next time, maybe.
Maybe next time. Yeah.
Okay. Why was the 16-bar? I mean, it's ridiculous, but why?
I don't know. I had it shorter, but the bassist was like, "Jenks, you should just make it like just this crazy solo," and I squeezed out another like 8 bars.
Yeah, I think we spent a whole weekend, like we did like a demo weekend where we got together, and we sat down with that song and like, you know what, let's just make the solo ridiculous. And they did. They added on and on and on. And we showed it to Nick, and he goes, let's just make it like 4.
On his notes, it was like Jenkins' hat, and that might have been the only notes for the song.
That was. Yeah.
Nice drums.
Yeah.
Nice drums, by the way.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, the funny thing about guitar solos is it's just, or lyrics or vocals or whatever, just space in between guitar solos. So, I mean, 16 bars is, minimum. It makes sense to me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going back to those lyrics, I'm looking at them right now. I'm on the music video on YouTube. So everybody tuning in on like YouTube, for example, in the show notes down below, we have the maguas.com website. Plus, we also have the videos that are available, Shapeless, Drifter, and Release Me. And I'm watching the one for Shapeless, and the lyrics are right there. You mentioned that chorus part, stab me in the heart, leave the blood for me to clean. I mean, this is aggressive. It's dramatic. Mm-hmm. What is this track about? Do you guys know?
Yeah, I think I don't want to put words in Eric's mouth, because I know he has a whole story for it. I think a lot of it comes from some personal experience for Eric, maybe some personal trauma there. And I know a lot of it is for all of us. When I write lyrics and when Eric writes lyrics, it's a very cathartic process for us. We go through a lot of our own emotions. Out on the outside, when you meet us, we're very happy and exciting people. We love to meet new fans and talk to people. And on the inside, we're a little more sad, or at least when we put the pen to the paper, we sound like we've only been through the worst of the worst, and it's only getting worse. And
it's only getting worse. It's still getting worse.
We've had people call us the Scranton Sad Boys. That's kind of like our little go for it kind of deal. Little motif. Every song we write, a song has beautiful guitar melodies, everything. I go, all right, make it sad. So for us, a lot of the times it is working through that emotion, working through those experiences that we might not portray outward to people. And I think that's something we really love about our music, is that we have that place to express ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, you guys seem pretty happy to me. I'm looking at these lyrics and I'm wondering. You definitely seem like the craziest bunch of guys with ridiculous drums and 16-bar guitar solos, and then you got lines like, your memory is a black fog.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we roll.
We're going through it.
Yeah. We're going through it, baby. Yeah, it seems like heartache.
Quarantine was a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
There's something you mentioned was ridiculous drums. Take us through that. Why were they ridiculous? What was going on there? Blast beats and double pedal?
Well, I think the original version had something similar to that bridge section where I'm doing the drums is just going crazy on the snare.
Yeah, there's
and I remember Nick when we were writing that bridge in the studio, Nick typically helps guide a lot of the drums to make it more straightforward. He loves power drums. He loves bass snare. He likes that impact. He likes that sound. And he likes controlled cymbals. And that's something that I actually struggle with in the studio in terms of controlling my emotions when playing. Because it is a little bit more, you want to try and hit, on some of our slower tracks, I sometimes play too loud, or I hit the cymbals too hard because I'm just in it, right? But for him, he's looking for that, focus on the bass and snare, we'll get everything else to come together. And for Shapeless, he comes on the comm and he's like, hey, I need you to play whatever. And I'm like, play whatever? I go, Nick, I've been coming to you now for 2 years. You've never once said play whatever. Yeah. And you should just see everybody's face. Precise. I'm trying to play I'm just going to hit some toms here. And they're like, okay. He's like, all right, I like what we're doing. And I know obviously there's always comping on these takes, but I remember when we took the first take of the bridge, I think most of that you hear on the record is what was the original, this first instinct that this is what I'm gonna play. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, that was beautiful. And I think every time after that I struggled.
I'm still trying to make sense of some of the fills on that song. They're just ridiculous.
Yeah.
What are you doing? But I love it.
But it's visceral. Yeah, I mean when Eric writes lyrics, he also wrote Choke on our last record. They're a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more as you said before, you could tell there's a little bit more anger there. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to portray that in my own playing, and that was kind of that moment, okay, this is gonna be the song where I just rock out for 3.5 minutes, and at the end, every time I finish the song, I'm gonna need a water break. It's gonna be one of those things. So,
now something that you mentioned in the beginning there was just wanting to write, a song that's fun to play live, and I mean. Maybe easy to say, maybe easy to do, but take us through that. How did that end up happening? Did you sit down and say, I want to write a song that I want to play live, and then throw a temper tantrum because it wasn't happening, and then eventually it happened? I'm having fun. What?
And you know what? We played about probably 7 shows since everything's been getting back to normal, and it's been in our set since we started back, and it has been it's probably been my favorite to play live.
It is so fun to play. It's
I think it's just it's the tempo compared to our last EP. I'm I just want to write a song that has that very upbeat feel. Mm-hmm. And it's just nonstop energy when we play it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are like, whoa, I like that one. People are still getting to know it too because it's still kind of new.
Yeah. It's a nice change from the doom metal. Now, does that then, this song, is it like a crux for you guys? Like, are you now going to start writing differently, maybe exploring different tempos as a result?
Yeah, I think looking ahead and obviously there's more songs on the horizon leading up until the end of this year. And I've already began writing what's coming next after 2021. And I think a lot of that writing is leaning more into, as we tried to do with this record, leaning more into the
heavier,
the emo rock, the rock sound, as opposed to, at one point in time we had considered doing like more of that like Wonder Years sound, or more of that, you know, even a little bit Menzies sound. And some people said that on our last record, like Actions Speak Louder Than Words, those little bit brighter songs, they enjoyed those. But we found a lot of success on What Else Is Lying in our song Glum, which was an emo rock song. And we took that and put it into this year's writing. And to the following year's writing, it's very, very, very much focused on getting that up-tempo rock sound. And, of course, sticking to those sad lyrics and that emo vibe. That's not to say that we haven't written some really beautiful slow songs as well, but still sad.
Speaking of beautiful slow songs, I'm watching a music video for Drifter. Is that one of your beautiful slow songs?
Yeah, well, the intro is, I would say. Drifter was, Drifter. I love that song. We actually, it all came together really quickly towards the end of, right before we went into the studio. Literally like 3 days before we went into the studio. We got together. I was home from school. I said, hey, we've had this idea. The melody, like the Drifter, Chasing Me, had been stuck in my head for a year. We tried to write a couple different demos. There was like 4 or 5 different versions. Eventually, we got together right before the studio, and we wrote one that we felt was right. We quickly showed it to the band.
They weren't too happy.
And for them, they were kind of like, well, you know, we already had like 10 or some demos, and they had already kind of had made their mind up on what they wanted. And we took the songs to Nick, and Nick was very, very much like, okay, Drifter, okay, and then we'll do the other songs. Okay, so he really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of it did come down to that chorus melody, and it's a different song. It has a little elements of everything. It's got that ambient sound in there. It's got that crazy drums and going into the second verse. It's got that catchy chorus. I think for us, like one of our focuses moving into our new music was trying to, you know, really kind of define our sound a little bit more, and also understand how to become better songwriters and write catchier things, but that were still meaningful. You know, I think when we were writing One of Us Is Lying, our goal was to write a good song. I think as we start to grow as song artists, we start to recognize, okay, how can we also make things that are memorable for people while also keeping true to the fact that we want to have a message with every song that we have. And so Drifter was kind of like my first attempt at that. Like, let's try and write like a radio, like it wasn't like I wasn't saying let's write a radio hit, but in my head I was like, this could be a radio hit. Let's try and do something that's really catchy, gets stuck in your head, just like Shapeless, you know, same idea. And it just all came together. I'm very proud of that one. I think it really came out to be something special. So
well said, brother.
Yeah, I mean it's a very different song from Shapeless, but I can tell from the production that it's the same band.
Yeah, and that's what I love to hear. You know, one thing we always talk about too is we never want to write the same song twice. You know, you run into some bands that have one sound, you know, and they're great and it's phenomenal. And they do that sound great, and you see them live and they sound phenomenal. And sometimes, you know, you have that trope of saying like, yeah, I can't really tell that song from this song, but it's great either way. And for us, I think our thing was always like, we always want to create something new, but also something that's familiar in terms of our sound. Totally. You know, in terms of like you hear Eric's voice and you go, or you hear, you know, oh, this song is so different, but I hear Eric, I hear the MAGUAS, I hear what they're saying, like that's them, you know?
Yeah.
And we just love that creative process of it, I think.
Yeah, you know? That's my favorite part. And really, you know, having a home studio and already planning for our future releases. We got a bunch of demos already ready, and we're kind of molding, okay, which ones, maybe these 5 might be an EP, and then maybe these 6 or 7 could be a different sound. And we always want to bring something new to the table.
You mentioned home studio and doing demos. Is it just for pre-production, or is what we're hearing now done at the home studio there?
Oh no! I mean, there's a couple elements in Drifter that I some of the ambient tracks that I sent over to get mixed. I mixed our first EP, Good Beer, and I learned my lesson there because the band, I think I mixed every song like 47 times before everybody was happy. So I said, you know what? I need a middle guy here because everybody will listen to him. Maybe 3 or 4 mixes. So we send all our stuff off. I don't want any control, and you know what, it's for the better because it gives you another perspective and another mix engineer. But I do mix and master other people's stuff. I do everything start to finish here with a lot of local bands. I just don't want to do my own stuff with the band.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's something that I noticed in speaking of sending stuff off to get mixed and mastered, something I noticed in the tracks is I'm speculating a whole schwack of guitars because there's so many melodies that are going on that sound like they're coming from multiple places. I guess I'm giving away too much. How did you guys do that, and how do you do that live?
Good question.
Good
That's
question.
you.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do is layer guitars. I'm the lead guitarist, so obviously I'm throwing leads everywhere. And Nick loves to do it too, so it's great. We'll get together and work out all the different leads. Really, how we do it live, I think eventually we'll start to add backtracking. For now, I just try to do everything with my Helix. So I got like a bunch of different channels that have the ambient noises, and I'll switch from that to the leads, and I just pick my favorite for now and the parts I have most fun playing.
Yeah.
And I think it's been sounding pretty full.
Yeah, we just changed up over to the Helixes, and for me, I remember our first show back, we played at the Sherman Theater, and it was our first show back after COVID, and he just got the Helix, and he had just worked through all the patches, and I couldn't get over how much fuller the sound was. It was like, to a lot of our fans, prior to COVID, we had still been playing some bar scenes and even some cover shows, but we knew coming out of COVID that we wanted to establish ourselves as what we had made ourselves during COVID, which was a serious original band from the Scranton area, writing original music, playing original music, you know. And when we came out and he had all those patches ready and he had all the sounds, I was blown away by how full it was and how much we had filled.
It's an incredible device.
Absolutely.
And modeler and effect unit.
Yeah.
I was able to go through and just set up. I just switch. You know, I have a thing on my pedal board. It says, "All right, Drifter," and then, you know, song by song. And when I hit it, it's got every different sound and different amps. And I just tried to match it the best I could to how it sounds on our album one night.
Yeah.
And I love it. Can't say anything better about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that on the Line 6 Helix? Is that on the record, or is that in response to the record?
It's in response. Everything in the record was, I think, pretty much. I think it was like a Marshall Plexi and then my Mesa dual rack for rhythm and leads, and we just switched off between the two.
Yeah, the Gradwell has a massive live.
They got
room.
A lot of stuff.
and they've got all the drums were done in this giant live room. I think they had mentioned it's only a couple feet shorter than Abbey Road while we were there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then the guitars, like you guys did, they have other recording rooms downstairs. And Nick always does he'll go in and dial it in and crank it up, and everybody's got to be out of the room. And then
it's always ripping loud.
Yeah, it's super loud. It's always ripping.
Yep.
And this year, when he had moved to the Gradwell house, Nick incorporated also like a performance element to it. So typically, when we were at the Lumberyard, which is in New Jersey as well, when they would record, they'd be sitting down just recording. And Nick wanted, as he moved to this new bigger studio, he wanted to incorporate that element of just really getting into the music, really playing how you play. And I think it really shined in this record specifically.
Yeah, it was different because we would always track in the control room in front of the monitors right next to Nick. And then this time I was in the live room. So he was just speaking to me over headphones, which was, it was kind of weird at first because, like,
yeah, you're like, the glass, you're like looking at it.
Yo, Jenks, another take. And I'm just hearing it on my headphones. I'm like, what? And he's like pointing at me, another take. But it was fun jamming in the live room because you could feel the amp. You could feel it. So you're getting, putting that raw emotion into the record.
Do you feel that the track came out better as a result of recording live off the floor?
I think it did.
I would say so, yeah. Definitely.
I'm happy with how it sounds.
That's for sure.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So then I guess doing it majority live off the floor and then doing some overdubs afterwards?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I did really minimum in my studio. Just some ambient noises in the background.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay, beautiful. Now, the boys have told me that at time of recording, we're going to have a new single coming up called Release Me, quite literally. Not Release Me quite literally, but like, Release Me. So, what can you share about this track?
Yeah, Release Me is a very special track, I think, to the entire band. I think there's it's again very different from the two previous tracks we just released. A little bit of backstory. It was conceptualized. The intro vocals, which you'll hear, were written in 2017. When we weren't even a band. I had actually at that time made a decision that I was going to start investing more into music for myself, and I started like recording like small demos, through like GarageBand, and that was a melody I'd come up with, and then we got together about like a year and a half ago, and we wrote this song, and I remember when we showed it to the band initially, they were a little indifferent of it because it was a little bit different, and then we went to Nick, and it ended up becoming what I understand is one of their favorite songs on this new record. It's got a beautiful music video directed by Alex Zarek with lighting from Brian Olivo. And anybody familiar with Alex's work, he's a phenomenal videographer and friend, I would say. He drove all the way out from Chicago.
He's phenomenal.
We did a bunch of music videos together over 3 days. And this song, it's got a message. It definitely deals a lot with love and loss and how to move forward following the loss of somebody you love. It's a very deep song, very deep track, and means a lot to us. So we're excited.
Okay. Next big, huge, throbbing question is there an EP coming, or are these tracks a part of an EP?
Yes,
absolutely.
So by this time, we will have announced the actual title of the EP. So on December 17th, we will be releasing it will be now our third EP titled Evergreen by the MAGUAS. It will include these tracks that have been released and then some other tracks. And there's gonna be a lot of exciting stuff coming out with that shortly. And yeah, I think this is something we're super, super proud of. And we can't wait for everybody to hear what else is coming.
Absolutely.
That's right, baby. Now, you mentioned the third EP. Next kind of devil's advocate question is, how come so many EPs? Is there going to be a full album coming at some point?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
We actually just had a conversation with our producer, Nick. I will say a little hint towards our fan base. We have spent since last January, we spent writing songs nonstop. I think at one point, in terms of completed songs, I think we're almost up to 20 to 25 songs completed. And we still, I don't believe we'll be actually recording the record portion of that until probably looks like August of 2022. But we are planning to return to the studio in January to work on some songs that we are looking to release in 2022 with hopefully fingers crossed our first full length by 2023 early. So
that's the goal.
That's our next goal. That's what we got our budgeting wise, mindset wise, that is where the band wants to go. I know it's a different era now with not many people want to do albums or full lengths, but I think our band has always wanted to do that, and this is kind of the moment for us where we really buckled down and said, okay, we have the idea set. We know what we're conceptualizing sound-wise. I think there's going to be a lot of songs to choose from.
Gonna have to narrow it down.
We're going to have to narrow it down, but that is where we're headed, and we're so excited for that moment.
Okay, I'm excited for that moment. Everybody listening is excited for that moment.
Full scoop here.
Oh yeah,
he's getting the full detail here.
That's right, baby. Full details. The only other question I had in mind is just you mentioned you're using a dual rec, and I mean usually dual recs are associated with Cannibal Corpse, and you guys don't have that sound. I'm just kidding. I mean, the beautiful thing I think about the rectifier is just how versatile of an amp it is, and I think it's almost gotten pigeonholed as a metal amp, despite the fact that you can do anything with the damn thing. And I guess I'm just kind of curious, how did you set it up so that you got the sound that you were looking for?
I think so. My dual rec, I think it's like the 2006 model, has the 3 channels: the clean, the crunch, and then the heavy, and then it has the raw and the modern. We definitely use channel 3 for the channel 3 modern for most of the rhythm. I think it's honestly the way Nick sets up the tone, because he's very specific with his tone, and I'll let him dial it in, and it's a lot less gain than you'd think.
Yeah.
He really keeps the gain super low, and really it's more about the volume just to get that headroom. And I think that's why our tones are really, they're heavy, but they're really not distorted, and it has that clarity, and it's just he focuses on the playing, and the playing creates the tone, really. And I think that's really how we achieved our tones on the albums.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, because I don't know if it's a secret. You can just look into the instruction manual for the rectifier, which guitar players never do.
I know I haven't.
But one of the secrets of the rectifier is that low gain, high volume. It's just the way the signal passes through the circuitry. And what you mentioned there is pretty much the secret to it is, lower gain, higher volume. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that reminded me like, oh yeah, that's cool.
And also just the cab we used, I think we double mic'd. We used like a Shure SM57 with a Sennheiser M21. Just pretty classic setup on like a 4x12 Marshall, and it just sounded absolutely huge.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
Yeah.
Can't beat it, especially for our sound. So I'm more than happy with how it came out.
Yeah, that's another one. 2 is a Marshall cabinet instead of a Mesa cabinet.
Yeah.
We're hitting all the tricks. We're taking them off the box, boys.
These guys, they're doing it.
Yeah.
The secrets today.
The secrets being revealed right here on the Rock Metal Podcast. And you boys said that you're from Scranton, and that made me think of All in the Family, that TV show from like the 70s where Edith wanted to go to Scranton to visit family, and what was his name? He was like, Scranton. Nobody wants to go to Scranton. And it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, boys.
That's the office.
Yeah.
Sorry, boys. I see the barbecue back there. We'll just have hot dogs instead. We'll just talk about that. It'll be great. Awesome. So we have EP coming up. We've chatted about Shapeless, Drifter. We have the next single coming up here called Release Me. In today's show notes, we have the website, themaguas.com, as well as, at time of recording, 2 videos are available, Shapeless and Drifter. And then also the boys have mentioned that there's one coming up for Release Me. What else we chat about? Ridiculous drums, 16-bar guitar solos, Line 6 Helix. We even talked about a few tricks about the rectifier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't take, what is that? What is that pedal that a lot of guitar players who don't know how to use one use to make it sound?
The Ibanez Scream Tuber.
Something like that, yeah. They're like, no, you got to put something in front of it, and there's like these, I'm like, oh, okay. You should just read the manual.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's everything. Is there anything I missed, boys?
No, I mean,
I think we, is
there anything else we have to say?
Yeah, I don't know the date of this airing, but we will be playing on December 17th. We'll be having our Evergreen EP release show at the Rail Yard in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And prior to that, we're going to be playing most of November. This Friday we're playing with the Spill Canvas. And then we're going on tour with the Save the Sledge and Deer Spring. And then on November 14th, we'll be opening for Secondhand Serenade, which I am, as a elder emo, so excited for. And then we'll be joined by The Dangerous Summer and Say We Can Fly. That'll be our end of 2021.
Yeah.
We've had one heck of a fall, and we're so stoked for what 2022 we bring, because so far, so good. No complaints on our end.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, because I get the opportunity to chat with bands from around the world, and, for example, I just chatted with a band in Germany, and they're not able to play as much as you guys are. And coming in from Canada, that varies, as I'm sure it does, in the States, it varies depending on where you're at. But for the most part, I'm not hearing what you're saying. So it sounds like you guys have some either loose restrictions or some things are going very well in your area.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. I think it's
actually,
masks and cards.
we just
that,
played with a pop punk band from Canada
we
called
did.
Dear Youth, and they were telling us it's a little bit more strict. But it's really state to state. Some venues were really strict about vaccinations. We're all vaccinated, but really showing proof and getting proof from everybody. And then other venues are like, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah. And that's a little bit more, that's when we're kind of like, hey, here's a mask, or hey, here's some hand sanitizer, you know?
Yeah, like, oh,
yeah, you know how it is.
Russian roulette, baby.
Yeah.
Get in the mosh pit. Sweet. All right. So, EP, Evergreen coming up soon. Might even have you boys back on the show after that's done, because I'm sure there might be some...
We'd love that.
Yeah, some more news as of that. The MAGUAS.com in the show notes down below, as well as music videos for Shapeless, Drifter, and Release Me. All right, boys. Well, thank you so much for popping on to the Rock Metal Podcast today.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
It's a blast.